Ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your captain, Jimbob Ovalshorts, and tonight we've got a special treat for you guys. We're going to change things up a bit and jump back into the world of cryptids a little bit. I found a really cool fella hanging out over there at Instagram where I've been finding all these fantabulous podcasters. He's across the pond over there and the host of a podcast called the Let's Get Freaky podcast. Mr. Tommy Cullum is going to be someone that I think is going to be a great conversation piece tonight. He hosts podcasts and talks to people that have all kinds of stories about ghosts and aliens and Bigfoot and more, and he's into that kind of thing too. And it's nice to see somebody over in the UK getting into something like that. It's real awesome. So I'm excited to see where this conversation goes tonight. I've got Bandit and Luis with me, so there's no telling where it's gonna go. I just know that, hey, let's have a little bit of fun. It's always dark and dreary and such like that. So let's get into the world of wonder a little bit, because that's where change is really made. And Luis will tell you that too. I guarantee before the night's over, he's totally going to say something about that. So, but of course, anything that we share tonight or anything we do tonight, or the stuff to get back to Tommy and everything that he's doing, will be at everyone's favorite website, unconstitutionalawakening.com, your home for everything us, man. And you can find episodes of the show, episodes of the Red Pill Project that I'm on that makes you think, episodes of us on other people's shows, man. Different kinds of things going on by everybody, all right here in the podcast and more section. That's also where you go if you want to answer the question at the end of the episode to get yourself a free Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast sticker, man. So we still got that going on, still looking for people to answer those questions. So make sure you tune in to the end here so that you can see if you can get yourself a chance to get something cool for free. Man, while you're over there on the website, you can also check out where to watch us if all you do is listen, and where to listen if all you do is watch us. And man, all you listeners out there, we have finally at 10,000 audio downloads. So thank you so much, man. And it's greatly appreciated. You guys can also check out the show right there while you're on the website, man, while you're hanging around over there looking around at things like our merch store, where you can get you some more of those stickers if you'd like, or some shirts or hats or coffee mugs or pillows. Man, we got all that kind of stuff going on. So y'all make sure that y'all are tuning in for that, as well as checking out our friends in Liberty, Kirk Elliott, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, Brett Pike with Classical Learner, and Pure Pet Wellness. Man, everybody here is doing some really great things that are against the status quo, and I totally recommend them. In fact, you tell them Jimbob sent you, and they're going to give you a discount. So, and we greatly appreciate anything you guys do supporting the show, because it's it is how it is, man, and we greatly appreciate each and every one of you out there. In fact, if you follow us on if you happen to follow us on Facebook at Captain Conspiracy and the Freedom Pirates, we totally just gave away some stickers over there. So Steven, Hermes, Matthew, Scott, congratulations, you guys. I hope you enjoy your stickers. And as far as everybody else that has won stickers from the pirate questions, your stickers should be there any day now. So keep your eyes open, man. We appreciate each and every one of you. And I say we just weigh anchor and get going on this guy. And ahoy there, everyone. Like I was saying in the opening there, we've got Mr. Thomas Cullum joining us this evening from the Let's Get Freaky podcast. And we're super excited about this because it's going to be a change of pace from this evening from the things you guys are normally used to. So enough about me though, man. How you doing over there, Thomas? How things going?
Hi guys, thanks a lot for having me on, man. It's an
Yeah.
honor to be with you boys.
Oh man, much appreciated. Hey man, as I was saying in the opening, you guys, this is somebody else that I found over there on Instagram and all these different podcasts that I've been finding coming across, and he spurred my interest because he likes to talk about things that are out there and weird and you know cryptids and what else because you never know, man. I always say that you never know what you're seeing because there's so much weird stuff out there that truly is unexplainable, and I love it when somebody wants to listen to those stories from other people and stuff like that because stuff like that I find fantastic. Me and Luis sat here one night and listened to a guy tell us stories about talking to Bigfoot. So, I mean,
Wow.
I never like to throw
It's
anybody's story
interesting.
aside,
Yeah, it's interesting because, at the end of the day, everybody's experience is so vastly different, and listening to those experiences in themselves, it's like opening a book of rare stories that are interesting, but at the same time, nobody's listening to them because they fall into an obscure side of what actually built most of the literature we have today. If you think about it, our literature is based off people like them.
So I gotta ask, what got you into the cryptid scene, man?
I've always been fascinated by everything paranormal, ghosts, cryptids, UFOs. I love it all. The cryptids is probably the more recent one. I started really getting into the Bigfoot subject first,
Nice.
and like everyone, when you first think about Bigfoot, I think especially over here in the UK, you think of one Bigfoot in the whole of America. There's one of them, and then when you really look into it, it's like there's so much evidence to support it, and it just gripped me. And I just found it fascinating, and I wanted more.
I'm definitely a believer. We've got people in different parts of the country seeing different versions of them, and then you branch out into the rest of the world and you start finding them in other places there too. And it's to me, a friend of mine, a friend of the show, his name's Steven. He actually gave me he was like, "Hey man, you know how feral pigs are hairy, but domesticated pigs are bald?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What if they're just feral humans, bro?" I was like, that's a good way to look at that. That could be a plausible thing.
I mean, to a degree, right? Because if you think about divergent evolution, just let's go with the actual scientific methodology of how you can look at it. Divergent evolution, you have groups of people that grew up in collectives, us, and like large collectives that created societies, and then there were some that literally were forest people and kept being forest people. And a while ago, some they were, anytime they mess with the rich people were like, you know what? Stay away from those areas. Weird shit happens in there. There's like whole sections of the world that if you look at it, you're like, why didn't we leave that area alone? It's rich in resources. It's great for building cities. Actually, it's optimal. Like, there are places in the United States that are forests that would be the most incredible places to live.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
And nobody lives. Well, there are some people that live, but ask yourself, why the fuck is there not mass encampment? There's water supply. There's sunshine. There's sometimes just the right amount of sunshine.
Now, in like real feral people, like me and Bandit have talked about this before. I live near a lot of national forests, and I will swear that there are feral people in those forests just running around because even me and him witnessed some obvious like signs of people deep in the woods.
If you head just about an hour east of where I live, you get into the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, not even an hour. 45 minutes east of me, you get into the Appalachian Mountains where, you will, disappear and not of your own accord, there's I think it reappeared on Hulu. There is a really good series that goes into, I think it's called Missing 411 on Hulu. I think it's called Missing 411. They go into all of this, and it's probably one of the best series that I have watched that investigate like mysterious appearances, dealing with the paranormal. And there was one on there where you get an area. There's an area east. It's the Appalachian Mountains, and then you go out west. And of course, you have the lore, the cryptic lore in the Rockies, and then you have the Pacific Northwest, and you have the Southeast or the Southwest. It's yes, yeah,
No,
that is.
I've heard great. I haven't seen it, but I know of this.
It is one of the best you will watch. One specific episode dealt with a this hunting group, and they would go into, my memory is terrible, so yeah, I mean, they went into an area, and they've been going in there for a decade, 15 years, something like that. They taped what is perhaps the greatest example of voices of the unknown out in the woodline, and they're in this little wooden hut made out of logs, and they're videotaping and recording multiple like humanoid voices and screeches in the tree line. And they brought the recordings and everything back, and they had people just that go over the sound for months and years, and these people cannot disprove it. They can't. They're like, it's not fake. And if it is fake, it's one of the best fakes in history. But the one thing that sticks out. Yeah, one thing that sticks out, though. Is
that the Ron Moorhead Sierra sounds? Is that what you were saying?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. And they said, I mean, they've said it. There's no way it's fake, but at the same time, they said it's not human. So
check these out. This is some recent ones from Ohio.
Well, there's some crazy stuff going on in Ohio right now. So
well, it was a couple years ago, prior to that.
Oh.
Wow.
But I've heard
what I'm recording right now sounds very similar to what I heard back in 1991 or 92.
And I've heard a few other ones like that.
I've never heard that one. Why did you not play?
Hey, hold on a second. I'm gonna find you one that's
you can find me one of the
another really.
But
I'm gonna find you a good one. I've got one.
We talked about some stuff like that when I helped do the Bigfoot documentary with Nate and them over there on the Reality Czars. And like the only story I've got is from North Georgia and the southern end of the Appalachian Mountains during a camping trip up there, and there was 6 of us that all heard something screaming in the woods that wasn't human. You know what I'm saying? Like it caused for us to all sleep in the van that night with the doors locked. But like,
and there's no animal in that region that comes close, right? And that's part of the whole mystery, that there's no natural creature that we know of that screams like that. I mean, even a escaped ape. I don't know. I mean, I would imagine others said they would be like, okay, this is an ape call, but that's the only thing that you can come close is certain other apes, literally. It's Bigfoot, ape. We are ape. So another type of ape. But even those are weird because it could escape from a lab. Like it happened. It literally happens that they escape from labs. Not as much anymore, but they used to.
Well,
and there was this one that you guys forgot. Remember the truck that fell and the monkeys fell out and a woman was bit? And this was like in 2020 or 2019.
I remember that.
And everybody's like, the pandemic's going to start soon. Did you guys remember that? They were like, the pandemic's going to start soon.
I do remember when we have Monkey Island down here in the southeast where they in like the 60s they filmed a movie, like a Tarzan type movie on the river out here, and had brought monkeys in, and then they got loose and like repopulated really quick. And so like we have this whole area that you have to be extra careful when you're going down through there, because even if you're on the river or whatever, because monkeys will jump out of the trees after you. Like,
Wow.
it's a legit, like, yeah, I mean they're probably mad, like, and but like when I start thinking about like all the different kinds
Hey,
of,
hey,
I see
hey,
it.
Jimmy, check the.
I see
Yeah,
it.
play that.
When I start thinking of like all the different kinds of like Bigfoot, and it being being even resembling some kind of maybe forest ape or something like that, I'm the kind of guy that believes that there were multiple forms of human beings. Google will tell you all day there's only one human being species, but there is clearly proof that there are a lot more than that. This article specifically talks about 8, but like I've seen some stuff where even like Graham Hancock is talking about, and there's definitely a lot more human type species that have existed. And
That brings up.
where are they? Could they be some of these other humanoids that are walking around in the woods like this? Like,
Yeah.
Speaking of humanoids, that brings up the where along the evolutionary chain did human beings become afraid of things that looked human but weren't human? Where? At one point in evolution,
Uncanny
10,000
Valley. Uncanny
10,000.
Valley.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. What I'm talking about. 10,000, 20,000.
That's a real
50,000.
mystery.
It is a real. It is
That people
a real.
have asked the same question. It's like, no, genuinely, what if it was a species that looked like us and
yes,
they were
but
other?
one wasn't human. Why are we afraid of? Even now, we're afraid of things that look human that aren't human. So where did that come from? How far down the evolutionary chain was that?
But I mean, that gets into what you sent me that video for here just a moment ago, really, because this is the thing. But I do want to hear, Thomas, what are your thoughts on like the other, other species being out there possibly still?
I think it's definitely possible. I mean, they find giant bones, don't they, that apparently get covered up. Seems strange.
Then you've got the actual elongated skulls that they have proven definitely weren't shaped that way.
Yeah. I think there's definitely other types of humans out there. Whether Bigfoot comes into that bracket or if it's more ape or more like us, I'm not sure. But I think there's definitely a possibility that it's obviously whatever it is. It's obviously very clever.
Yes.
They have to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
And like, that's there's been all kinds of things in that valley of stuff or whatever, and even things that have been clearly hidden. There's all kinds of historical documents hidden in things like the Vatican and Smithsonian and stuff, and locked away in their vaults. But then you've also got to think about, if you're trying to control a narrative, that if somebody does find something, was it destroyed? Because you hear some of these stories sometimes that happened in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s of people exploring places of the desert and coming across these grandiose things, and then you don't hear about it again. And
do you guys remember the people with the heads in the chest?
That's a thing.
Have you heard of these people?
I have, but I want to play that.
What?
Bandit's excited about it.
Yeah. There's people with heads in their chest, and many cultures spoke up about them. This freaks me out for some reason.
Skinwalker calling for help.
That's freaky, man.
Don't mess with Skinwalkers, bro. Like
the video actually is cut short, unfortunately. But the real reason that the guy was out there, not with the intent of like capturing, he was out doing a Boy Scout instructional video on how to start a fire, and he just so happened to come upon that.
Why do you think? Well, I didn't see that. What was the reason they didn't react to it? Because they also felt weird about the call? What was the explanation for them not to act on somebody calling for help?
Well, that's a common thing when you get into the Skinwalker thing. like you have something that's trying to lure you in, so
Draw you in.
so it in a lot of the legends, it has a habit of sounding like a child, even, like a child calling for its mother, or looking for help. And
I
then,
mean, it's the perfect
gotcha.
trap if you think about it. It's the perfect trap.
Well, I mean,
Almost evil trap.
isn't that how? I mean, look at how deep sea predators hunt. They mimic things in trouble, or even, there are some predators on land that mimic the cries of animals that are wounded, or
You mean
animals
babies
in
crying
trouble.
like human babies? Cats?
Yeah,
Cats doing that?
that's an easy way to lure somebody in.
We lure to love them.
Yeah,
That's cats.
I
That's
mean-
brilliant. Cat evolution.
And then what you were making reference of before we jumped over into that, this is also another one of those interesting, weird things that
Yeah, have you seen this, Bandit?
the Blemmyae.
No, I have not. Oh my god.
You got to go down this rabbit hole. You're gonna be like, "What? It's a great rabbit hole."
I've been down this one, and it's really interesting.
Like,
Is this what
They're
the
just-
character
they're-
on Teenage Mutant Teenage Mutant or not
let me read a little bit about it. What the thing says.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the bad guy?
The Blemmyaes
No,
were
no,
described
that's-
as Greek and Roman histories were typically thought to be a tribe of African men. The Blemmyae, or the chest eyes, or the something I'm not even going to try to murder, were mythical people said to be about 6 to 12 feet tall and almost half as wide. And according to ancient sources, they were said to have been cannibals. So this, I mean,
That is
in a way,
vague, from 6 to 12 feet high, from 6 to 12 feet tall.
I mean,
That's pretty vague.
think about people in their different heights though. Now, I mean, you got people like yourself who
12 feet tall means
tower
just,
over
like,
people
really
like me.
tall. I'm sure they weren't actually 12 feet tall.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe somebody's perception of
Somebody
these people
that's somebody that's 7.5 feet looks like they're 12 feet tall.
especially when you're tiny and leprechaun
to
size.
Jimmy,
like me.
to
Jimmy,
Jimmy,
it
somebody
looks like
that
a-
was 7.5 feet tall would look like a giant. Yeah. So
This is very true. Like,
That's the point.
but it begs the question, because you know that there have been other species found, and they're always, I guess, in the world of evolution, they always talk about like the missing link and stuff, and like somewhere along the lines, all these other different humans or different
I bet the
humanoids
Smithsonian
have
showed up and
vanished.
destroyed one of the excavation sites.
I'm a big believer in things like, because when you look back at what dude wrote when he wrote the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit series, he claims that these were from historical documents that he found in this library, and just different books and stuff like that he had read throughout all this. This is where he dreamed this stuff up. And I'm the kind of guy that'll tell you right now, are fairies? Yes. Leprechauns? Yes. Giants? Yes. I really think that there were all these different forms of humans at one point in time, and man just, either ended up with the Ring of Power and took over, or something. Like we've gotten to this point now, whether it be an experiment like they've been trying recently, or that even led to it too, because humans switched a pathway to where they have like that fear that you're talking about, and there's a lot of quirks that we've gained that seem to be almost changed upon us, instead of something that we naturally had, when you really break down humans and such.
What I find interesting is that every culture has the same thing as well. Like before the internet, before we was all connected, both sides of the world had giants and done all the ancient drawings of giants and stuff, and we all had the same, was all seeing the same thing. So I find that interesting.
It's almost like we were connected at one point.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
Well, Antarctica was a
Yeah,
tropical environment.
Oh yeah.
With buildings. with buildings.
Oh yeah, those old. Oh man, the let's see, ancient.
Well, there's there's pyramids there, but
Oh, I
there's
mean that I
buildings
don't
for
doubt.
sure. Well,
Well,
there's other buildings.
well, there's always there was a map floating around for a little while, and I'm trying to see if I can find it again that shows it like defrosted and with like civilization on it and such. Like it's quite interesting, that there was a time where it was mapped to show there was ports and things like that. So, you know,
Old maps from the
it's
1500s show Antarctica under the ice. Now, this is the big thing. In the 1500s, it was already under an ice age. So the ice was bigger than it is now.
sure.
We ended the ice age in the 1850s. People don't understand that. People are like, global warming, global warming. I'm like, yeah, because we were in an ice age.
Well,
That
and then
part alone is like a hard problem to debate with people that don't understand how it's not man. The most of these problems are not man-made, but a cycle of
not
the earth.
not to mention mine and Bandit's
The
favorite subject
plastics, though.
of
Plastics are us.
the pole shift.
Oh yeah, we don't know if
this-
anything happens or nothing happens.
This floating rock has been tumbling through space for billions of years. Really, billions of years. Everybody wants to talk about how bad this. I'm not downplaying it whatsoever. How bad the spill and problem is in East Palestine, Ohio is. I'm not downplaying that whatsoever. It's bad. But if people think for 1 second this is going to have some negative effect on the Earth spinning around the sun for another few billion years, Mother Nature will correct itself. It will flush everything out, and it will start over. It really will. People don't have a clue about how awesome, this planet really is.
What do you think hurricanes are? They're surf cleaning. Hurricanes literally
Surface. It's a buff. It's a buff. It's a buffer.
I mean, I've Bandit. I said
It's
it.
God just giving it a scrub.
Yeah.
Or a little scrubby,
Yeah.
scrubby scrub. Tornadoes are his fingers.
I said it.
Going like
Picking at a dead spot.
Scratching
that goes more into what I had said to you before. Me and you were conversating about how, if there was anything in existence that we could actually legitimately call a real god, it would have to be planet Earth. Without it, we are nothing. We cease to exist. It gives life, it takes it away, etc., etc. Like it can wipe its slate clean. And like I'm a firm believer in this isn't our first time around. I think humanity has made it to leaps and bounds in the past before, and then something happened and we got sent back to the Stone Age. And I honestly don't think I don't think that it won't happen again. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure it'll probably happen again. We just end up getting too big for our britches and mess ourselves up, and then the survivors that are left start over in caves. You know what I mean? Like it's a cycle, just like anything else.
Oh, the meme where we build AI enslaves us. Solar storm destroys AI. We praise the sun.
Maybe, just maybe, the
Amon-Ra?
cryptids, just maybe the cryptids, or that we think are just like abnormalities, are leftovers from the previous civilization that was wiped out and restarted and evolved into us. Now,
Well,
we've
another
existed
point
for
that I like to
300,000 years, and there's potential evidence of things happening before.
kind of back to Bigfoot, a point that I've made numerous times and that I do like to point out is a lot of people like to put on the missing persons map and the national parks map and how close they are.
the cave system.
Well, the cave systems and stuff. And I got curious one day, and I decided to throw the United States Bigfoot sighting map on top of both of those maps just to see what it was. And holy crap, if it didn't line up with a lot of the same stuff. And so I've always had this theory in my head that Bigfoot totally lives in like inner Earth. Like I I think they come up here and go as they please, but like for the most part, they got their own thing going on in a whole different part of the planet that we don't even think about because everybody's focused on the stars. And there's too many people on this side of the planet and the other side of the planet that have seen the same creature just with minor differences for me to not believe it's real. And I think this also goes along with the same to go with any of the creatures that resemble the Loch Ness monster, as we have similar creatures in some of the rivers and lakes in the United States. I've heard stories out of China with the same kind of stuff, even Australia. And so I'm just like, okay, so this is another creature that somehow got entrapped or somehow does exist through here. And we know nothing about the ocean. So could there be a dinosaur-like creature swimming in the depths of the ocean that we couldn't comprehend? Yes, because giant whales eat krill. So you can't tell me that one of these things couldn't somehow sustain itself.
Do you think cryptids only exist on land?
Exactly.
Oh no,
there are aquatic cryptids.
I mean, we find them all the time. There's by the way, there is a section of YouTube where you can go and find this stuff. It's the most beautiful section because it's the most peaceful. The ocean cryptids.
Oh yeah.
The weirdest shit.
I know what you're talking about.
There's Ocean X, I think it is. They have been even off the
there's
coast of
unexplainable
doing live streams of the bottom of the Mariana, like as far as they can go. It's like, let's say they can go 10,000 feet. So they're looking at it and they give you live feeds. It's so good. And they've been doing this for more than a decade. They're amazing.
I'll make sure.
And that's more terrifying than like unexplained creatures in outer space, because people are like, oh, so what? But we have unexplained instances and creatures and areas right here on our own planet, man. I mean, that's gotta make you think,
Yeah.
What's been the so I know you interview people and talk to folks that have had like cryptid experiences and stuff. What has been, you think, one of your best cryptid experiences, stories that you've heard?
Ooh. Well, the last show that I just put out, Al Santoriga came on the show, and he's got 50 years worth of experience with Bigfoot, Dogman. He's an incredible guy, and he told me, there it is, yeah. He told me a story that someone in the Canadian Army told him, and I don't think you'll mind me sharing it. Basically, there was a big, what part of Canada was it? Canada. I think it was British Columbia, I think. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to I think that's where it was. So there was a big school party going on in a house that was in the middle of nowhere in Canada. And it was like the end of year school party. And all the kids were just there getting drunk, having a good time. And apparently it was in a house that was abandoned, that all the kids just used to go to. And during the party, something happened underneath the house. There was like, they found, what's it called? Like a cellar. And it was locked, and they've opened the cellar. And I believe this creature's jumped out, and they were filming this. This was on film.
Oh, wow.
And it was how you would describe a werewolf dogman. This is how it looked. And obviously everyone at the parties ran home. Everyone's gone. And this was on, someone had it on camera, and something happened to the camera. I don't know where it is now. Obviously, it'd be amazing to see.
I smell a Blair Witch.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, but apparently they left one of their friends at the house, and they all went back. And
leave him behind.
I wouldn't go back. So that was a recent one. That was quite incredible.
So I know over in the UK, there's definitely a lot of good haunt stories, to come out of that area. There's a lot of good haunted areas. It's much like the southeast over here where I'm at. We've got some of the down in Savannah, Georgia, and stuff like that. Some of the most haunted places in the country. And and you guys alone over there have a bunch of haunts. But I gotta say, are there any exclusive cryptids to the UK area that you don't think you've heard
Obviously,
about out of the?
we've got the Loch Ness.
Yeah,
That's the main. That's the
the main
one of the main ones. But where I live, I didn't realise this. I've recently moved from. So I'm from Essex, which is right next to London, and I've recently moved to Dorset, which is about 2 hours from London, and I've got a big forest right next to me, massive forest, and I didn't realise, but there's like a dogman law there, so they say that there's a dogman there. I didn't know this till I moved here, and obviously talking to locals and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, apparently we've got our own dogman that people have seen, heard it, apparently seen glowing eyes in the forest and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool.
I mean,
because the dogman's another subject that's really growing.
There was always that the Americans were always singing about the werewolves in London back in the day. So
That's it.
Now, I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok and YouTube saying that Scotland is one of the bigger places over there as far as cryptid lore.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bigfoot activity in Scotland apparently as well.
Oh,
so that's another cool thing looking into this subject. I've always thought of America as being the place where Bigfoot is, but it's actually everywhere. But as you said before, Russia, all over the place, China, Australia. You got the Yowie in Australia, and I've spoken to people in the UK.
There's supposedly even a tiny version in Indonesia.
Yeah,
That's much smaller.
A pygmy Bigfoot.
Yeah,
a kosher big, like no, what? Compact. Not kosher. That's the wrong word.
Pygmy
But,
Bigfoot.
compact.
this is
Well, it's Indonesia, limited resources. I don't know which of the islands, but
Oh, so he wasn't
this-
able to grow to full size because of limited resources, right?
just like humans in certain areas, they don't grow.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
big.
yeah.
They have limited resources.
Well, I've heard the dogman stories type things. Even here, our actually hotbed for the dogman conversation seems to come more out of the Louisiana, Mississippi area. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what draws our dogman lore to come out of that area of the country, but that's where I've found more people that talk about that kind of stuff is in that area. Down here in the southeast, we don't even actually call him Bigfoot. We call him a skunk ape. That because he's out here in the swamp area and stuff like that. And that's just, but it's still kind of the same thing. And that fellow that me and Luis talked to a while back, he said that like Dogman and Bigfoot like coexist in parts of the forest and stuff. And so I've always found that interesting because he's actually not the first person I've heard that from. So it makes me wonder back into that. What if they are a whole society of different breeded people living underground? People say that like the ancient Egyptian depictions of dogmen type humans and stuff were, them trying to explain a god or something like that. But what if, what if in this ancient place before the world had a reset, there were giant hairy humans running around, there were dog men running around, there were lizard men running around. To me, it doesn't seem out of the realm of plausibility because look at the clown show we live in today. So it wouldn't surprise me if the ancient world was full of magical creatures and beings.
I wanted to show you ChatGPT's point of view, if I could, on this.
Oh yes, please. Let's see this. This is
So I simply asked. Okay, go away, screen. Sorry, 1 second. Let me hide. So what dogman myths in Europe? So you can see there. Ancient Greek mythology, there was the creature called Cerberus, but it thinks that there is none.
ChatGPT also, seems to have a hard idea of how it's leaning in a lot of the things it talks about.
How do you werewolves, or what's the other term for werewolves?
Lichen.
Yes, there you go. You beat me to it.
Now, this would be something, Luis, I think you should be feeding into the AI art generator.
Oh yeah, let's play around with that one too. But yeah, there you go. still going, but will
Is
I
it go-
work on this if you want to
is
read
it
that?
is it gonna start is it gonna start cussing at me and threatening me? Didn't they
No,
say
I have to force it through basically persuading it to think differently. We can try the Bing chat in a second. The Bing version of ChatGPT.
Oh, I was just wondering because I heard the other day about
You
the
can make it, yeah, it's called, you have to jailbreak it.
okay.
It's something called the Dan jailbreak. But yeah, that's what it says. You want to read some part of it while I work on the other side?
Yeah, it says the term lichen is derived from the word lycanthrope, which refers to human being who can transform into a wolf or wolf-like creature. In European folklore are various stories and legends about werewolves, which are essentially the same as lichens. And they're saying that the concept of it originated in Greek mythology, where the story of the king lichen tells the man who was transformed into a wolf by the god Zeus as punishment for his arrogance. And in Norse mythology, it's the stories of berserkers warriors who could take on the strength and ferocity of a bear or wolf through shapeshifting. And I mean, the shape shifting. I want to stop right there because you've got things that like this Wolfman kind of shape shifting thing. I guess in a sense, when it comes to Bigfoot, it's almost like a shape shifting thing because you can't, no matter how hard you try, his frequency, and this is what I think it is, his frequency keeps you from being able to film him clearly, no matter what you do. And, you've got the shape shifting politicians that are out there that I always joke about being lizard people and stuff like that. But you see the idea of shape shifting being pretty prevalent in old lore, regardless of which country you're looking at it from or which part of the world you're looking at it from, you run across the idea of shape shifting. And so that's again one of those things like where did they come up with that? Like what did someone witness at one point in time that caused them to believe that something could shapeshift, or were there shapeshifters at some point in time?
It's like I've said when we had this movie discussion. We were in a movie talks, and nothing we come up with, just comes out of thin air. It has to be associated with something that was written down, or it has to be a combination of something you witnessed and something you read already, or something like that. Something like this just doesn't come out of thin air. It's something that's written down, recorded before, something you've witnessed yourself.
I mean, it's not, ChatGPT is not really denying it here, but it's backing me up and talking about how it's in everything. Like you've got it from Native American, European, what does that say? Japanese.
Sorry, let me make it. Can you see better that way? I mean, I just wish the screen was bigger. Let me
It's okay.
go down a bit. There we go.
It's okay.
There we go.
Let's see what I say. It's got Hindu, Japanese. Like it's not. It's not. I don't think it's out of the realm, man. Like I think there's something. There's something that drew people to believe that. What do you think there, Thomas?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, a lot of people have had experiences seeing these things, and I mean, is everyone lying? I don't think so.
That's the thing. Everybody can't be lying. Everybody can't be looking for attention. Give you a simple example: UFOs. Trust me, somebody didn't experience it. The statistical probability that somebody's making it up is extremely low because of the amount of ridicule that comes from it.
But
yeah,
I want to
find the amount of ridicule is abhorrent.
But see, now my only thing with UFOs is I want to know the difference in the ones that show up that nobody knows what they really are, and the ones that are clearly government, fugazis going on just for a show on the TV. Just my thoughts. But I mean, I'm a UFO believer for sure because I've seen things that are unexplainable. Like I've seen things come out of the water and vanish towards the air from the ocean that don't make sense. So, who am I to deny to deny that it's, real or not. Yes. Yes, you're looking up the word Fugazi.
I mean, it's a fun word.
It's a fun word.
I've seen UFOs. I've seen a
Ooh.
few weird things.
Please tell. Share.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
So one of my strangest UFO experiences. This is going back about 8 years ago. I was living in Essex. Was in a flat, and I was with my mother-in-law. We both saw this. So opposite the flat I was in was like a little foresty area, and we was on the 4th floor, so we was quite high up. And literally 3 balls come out the forest, and they were changing shape. These balls, they seemed to be connected, but they weren't actually touching. And they were like a silvery color, and they were just, I would say, just bit bigger than a basketball, say. And they were floating around each other and just going up and up and up. And me and my mother-in-law are looking at this like, what is that? Like, we couldn't work it out. Is it a balloon? No, it wasn't a balloon. We just could not work it out where it was. And the weird thing was, these 3 balls, they were balls, but they kept changing shape. They were never the same shape either. It was always a different shape. And they were just sort of going around each other, up and up and up. And all of a sudden you just saw flash, 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 and they were gone. And I looked at my mother-in-law and I went, nobody's going to believe us. But and nobody does really, but but that happened, and it was amazing.
Oh no, man! Listen, I'm the kind of guy that I'm not going to deny it, because you can't. When you know you've seen something, even if it's unexplainable, even if nobody's going to believe you, and you're willing to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, okay, there's some truth to that. We've had some interesting people talk about some interesting things up here, and I think one of my favorite stories to come off of this show is from our buddy Lowell Johnson, who has talked about going inside of Mount Shasta and seeing inner Earth himself and stuff like that. And it's
wow.
It's such an interesting conversation. And then he brings along like weird picture evidence of things that he sees out there too. And it's just like, you got to start not denying it. They've even caught apparitions and stuff like finally on video or whatever. So
there's been so many accounts of one version or another of Hollow Earth that there really is. I mean, there's written accounts of Hollow Earth, people visiting inner Earth. I mean, dating back, I don't even know. One of the most popular though was written by a I think it was a Norwegian fisherman, the 1800s, I think. But I mean, he vividly describes giants in inner Earth, vividly.
Wow.
And there's supposed to be like somewhere around a dozen or so entrances into inner Earth. One of them being right here in Kentucky.
Wow.
Which the mushroom mines, or which Kentucky?
No, Mammoth Cave.
Mammoth Cave. Oh yeah.
Yep.
How close is that to you, or how close are you to that?
Hold on, I gotta look it up, man. I don't remember.
I mean, I just wonder, because we always make jokes about, we're gonna go hunting for cryptids for a unconstitutional and live thing or whatever. And come on, bro, let's go spend the night in Mammoth Cave.
Yes.
Oh, it'd only be the weird scorpions, crabs, and other insects and other life forms.
I live in Georgia, so we have large bugs of all kinds, mosquitoes that can carry you away, black scorpions that like to get into your bathroom, and snakes coming up your toilet, and all kinds of stuff like that. So like, I'm not too concerned about sleeping along my normal neighbors that I've already got going on as it is when you're in the South. It's just, I've had some friends come down from the Northeast, and we joke about how the bugs are going to carry them away. Ooh, I like it.
I was going off of what you were describing. And
Mammoth Cave is an hour and 45 minutes away.
Okay, towards me, or
That's cool pictures, man.
Not what you saw, but it was what came up.
Not what I saw, but that's cool.
And I was looking at werewolves, the different types it can create.
Wow.
Yes, we're here. I mean, I could make it so my computer gives me a completely different voice. I have to work it out. So one day I'll do the entire show with a completely different voice.
Oh my god.
Nice.
I should try to see if I can train it to speak like Raiden from Metal Gear Solid. And then we can make somebody else speak like the Colonel the entire show.
So I got to know, Thomas, you said you had some other interesting experiences. Is there any other things that you've come across that you'd like to share? Because I definitely would love to hear it, man.
Well, I've seen more UFOs. I saw when I was 14, we was all playing football in the street. And this is before mobile phones, so none of us could take a picture of it. But there was like, we all stopped playing football and we was like, what is that? And in the distance, obviously really high up, there was what I can only describe as like a building that you would see in Dubai. It was just like a weird shape, massive, looked like a building, but it was floating in the sky. And we were just watching it for ages, like, what is it? We couldn't work it out. It was like an orangey, silvery color, but it was massive and it was well in the distance. And yeah, that was strange. And I just remember we was watching it for about 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was, talking about it. And then we was like, come, let's carry on playing football. I didn't watch it. We didn't see if it flew off, or I really wish we did. But it was really weird.
Oh, no, I mean, and you know, that, see, I've got a weird story that I had told recently to some friends of mine too about seeing things that people don't believe is true, but I was there with a few folks, you know, when it was, cell phones were around, but they weren't near the quality that we have now, for sure. It was still just a flip phone in my pocket. And, you know, I've got a Thunderbird story.
Man, don't do the
Thunderbird
age
story,
thing,
bro.
right?
No, but I mean, you know, we're all out in what's considered the foothills of Appalachia at a golf course, and the four of us at the tee will all four, we will back each other up all day. We seen something fly from a cave out of the side of the mountain and watched it fly off, and the size was just not comprehensible. Wow. And you know, we're all convinced that it was either a Thunderbird or a dragon. And since the southeast of the United States is actually known, you know, to have Thunderbirds in the past and stuff, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's still one running around out there. And of course, Thunderbird or pterodactyl or whatever you want to call it. But we've even got, there's factual pictures, you know, from history in the United States of people catching these Thunderbirds that they haven't been able to debunk. So it's clearly a plausibility that something like this could live in one of these untouched forest areas. You know, we were talking earlier about how, you know, what are they keeping locked away in that area? Well, could it be something like that? Could it be Bigfoot? Could it be a sleeping giant? You know, like I think these are all possibilities.
Yeah, man.
What you got,
Luis? Interesting.
So you see here, this is the Bing version of ChatGPT. This is the one that can get really racy and crazy. And I was just covering Thunderbirds, the mystical creatures. You can also see here the lichens, the description. It's different. It's not exactly the same. The difference is this one, look, it gives you the annotations where it got the text. So it's just something to explore. When you're looking at these cryptids, the problem is you can see the responses are very, very static. Well, you can explore further, and see. It's not super fast, but it's interesting. So it's something to explore as you're exploring any of these things. Although at the end of the day, it might still give you these answers that are not as entertaining. Because you have to dig deep to the consensus. There we go. It's going much deeper now. Yeah.
You can go ahead and read off of some of it, because I'm pulling up some pictures in my background real quick. But...
So let me see, which one? The Thunderbirds?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thunderbirds are mystical creatures that appear in the legend of Native American tribes, especially in the southwest region of the United States. They are described as enormous birds that can produce thunder and lightning with their wings and beaks. They're also seen as protectors of humans from the evil spirits and predators who breaks the rules. That's interesting that I've never heard of them before. And then according to Algonquian myth, Thunderbirds control the upper world and fight with the underwater partner of great horned serpent that controls the underworld. Okay, we're going into the actual myths and everything. According to the Menominee tribe, sorry, I need to get close. I need to make this bigger. Okay. According to the Menominee tribe, Thunderbirds live on a floating mountain in the sky and are ancestors of humans who helped create the universe. According to the Ojibwe tribe, Thunderbirds are created by the Nanabozo to fight against evil spirits and also to punish humans who break the moral rule. So I guess they're good spirits overall. Like, all I'm seeing, they're good. Are they gone because the bad people killed them? I don't know who this tribes. I'm imagining they're Native American tribes.
It's quite plausible. I mean, but you know, like a lot of there's these
Native Americans from Mexico, or
I was having a little bit of trouble finding at the moment, but they're, and I know we've talked about them before, Luis, and I know you've seen them too, but they're like these older pictures from, you know, like after the Civil War era, where people were taking pictures with the Thunderbirds that they found. One of the prominent places was like Alabama, I believe, and it's mind blowing. It's seeing these kind of things, you know, like it because there's definitely some truth to it, and when you get to looking at it from my end, I guess, because I'm, you know, definitely the guy that's going to be like, it's possible, like that, but that's just because I don't know. I like to think that a lot of different things are plausible because there is just so much out there that seems implausible.
But by the way, this is definitely the future of search. This actually works. This is way better. This is like an enhancement because this is connected to the internet. Well, ChatGPT is not. ChatGPT is not connected to the internet.
Interesting.
So yeah, look at all the directions it's trying to push you.
All right, let me get the share screen back so I can bring up these pictures.
Let me hear it. Getting control, sir.
These are all these old pictures, and like they've never really had anything to debunk a lot of it. Like it's really kind of unexplainable.
I mean, a few do look fake as hell, but a few look interesting. Like the bird.
Yeah.
There's another one of the blackbird. That one's like been around for a long time.
This is one that they've actually never got to really debunk. Like they've had actually people look at this one.
Somebody then has that somewhere in their house, if that's real, and it's kept away, and they're very rich.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then there's always been this picture too that was super interesting. Like I remember this one.
There are birds that are that big, but that's just not. Right.
That's just weird looking bird though.
Yeah,
the weird looking bird. But there are birds that look just like. I mean, it looks similar to a scavenger type. So it looks similar to a. What are those called? The ones that scavenge.
Vultures.
Carcasses. Vultures. It looks like a type of vulture. Maybe it could be like a very large vulture.
Well, and you know, I'm
huge.
You know, there's a lot of interesting depictions and proofs that if there were, you know, certain kinds of, because you know that they've come out and said that a lot of the dinosaurs that they've pieced together weren't actually true. You know, some of them never even actually existed, but there is some interesting pictures of some that you see depicted alongside humans. You know, especially like the Brontosaurus, for example. You know, there's still all those legends out in the Congo of the one that actually still exists to this day. And you know, that to me, that's one of those things that's been super interesting. I've listened to that one fella, you know, talk about his story of trying to go out there himself, but not making it through the river of leeches. And I'm just like, man, I don't know. I think if I ever had the opportunity, I think I'd have to try to give it everything I had to try to get and see this daggone.
Well, you also need a bit of resources because at the end of the day, you have to hire a crew to come with you, because you don't want to be. Okay, let's be real. You are the definition.
Let's talk about. Speaking of
area without natives,
let's talk about the guy that got the photo of what they
The
say,
giant snake?
the snake that was like 100 and something feet long that actually lunged at the helicopter.
That's confirmed by several people. That's why they real. It's because there were
Wait.
several people there that saw the fucking snake and they're
Helicopter
like, no,
that were on the helicopter. This was just
it was at least 80 feet long minimum.
They said over 100. I've seen over 100.
No, I know, but they say the minimum estimate is at least 80 feet.
But yeah,
because the problem is it's the angle, the quality of the photos.
It's on a hillside. It's on a hillside.
It's from a helicopter. I get it. It's shaking.
Yeah.
People don't. If you've never been in a helicopter, taking a picture from a helicopter,
it doesn't work too well.
Nope.
I've tried.
Modern cell phone. Good luck.
I've tried.
Shutter speed should better be like 1,000. If you look, it's not sharp, but it's still not bad. But you have to understand, you're on a helicopter, so you see at the bottom. That's the vibration of the helicopter. It's a good picture. It was broad daylight, but he had to shoot so fast. So the reason why it's also dark, it's likely broad daylight. The shutter speed probably was really high anyway, but it was probably like a cheap camera, so up to 1,000. So those situations you need up to 4,000 to really be able to capture the moment without capturing the vibration.
Getting into these areas, 100-foot snakes are the least of your that's the least of your problems, really.
Disease, insects. The insects in there will kill you.
Cannibalistic tribes.
Yeah.
Tribes people that have not come in contact with.
They still exist, bro.
Outside people. Your cannibalistic tribes, the weather.
Papua New Guinea is still full of
nature
tribes.
I think
we just say nature in general.
There's over 13 uncontacted tribes in Amazon. They just leave them alone.
And when you say tribes, these people think, so dozen people. No, we're talking civilizations. When you say tribe, it's a civilization. It's not just like a dozen people.
No, it's hundreds.
Hundreds to possibly thousands of people, and it's ridiculous. So 100-foot snake. If that was the biggest problem, then count me in. But no. That would be like going into North Sentinel Island.
I spoke to a guy. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I spoke to a guy a few weeks ago. I haven't put the episode out yet, but he was a US veteran for 20 years. He served in the army, and he claims that in the Congo, there is still dinosaurs now.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Of.
I've heard that. I've heard this before. Yeah.
And I just found that so interesting. Amazing.
Oh, absolutely, man.
There's
the Congo area. The Congo area. That area.
That's where all the cobalt comes from.
Yeah. That area of Africa, they were saying there were natural nuclear reactors there over 100,000 years ago.
Oh, guys, it gets crazy. It's way crazier than I thought. Okay, so let me show you here. This is crazy. I didn't know it was actually this crazy. All right, wait. This is nuts. This is so cool. You can see the screen? All right. Look at the size. It's way bigger than I thought. Brazil's uncontacted tribes, mostly within the Amazon rainforest, believed to be the highest population uncontacted in the world. 67 uncontacted tribes. 67, way higher than I thought. West Papua uncontacted peoples located in Papa New Guinea, estimated 44,000. That is a fucking civilization.
Wow.
In Papua New Guinea, by next door to Indonesia,
That's
next door to Australia.
They also have the highest. The reason for that probably they have the highest concentration of the most languages in one country is Papua New Guinea.
And the thing is, there's where the cannibals are in Papua New Guinea too. But they eat you after they eat the remains of their enemies, so they cannot escape into the afterlife. I believe is just part of it. So it's like a revenge. They take parts of you and they cook them and then they eat them to trap you in this world, so you cannot enter the next world. That is some dark shit. That is some level 10 dark.
So
See, and they aren't the only ones to do that, though.
now I'm all right. So the Papua New Guinea thing is super interesting. That was something that one of the Rockefellers was super obsessed with, and
They actually sent an
Listen,
expedition there.
all right, and they claim that he was lost and eaten, and then many years later, somebody had returned there, and in this group of all of these dark-skinned guys was this one dude that actually fits the portrayal, like fits the size, look, and everything of the lost Rockefeller, and like the
Oh yeah, there's a book. Isn't there a whole book about that?
There is a whole book.
So, the official story is he was eaten by these cannibals and blah blah blah. But like, there's even legend in, I guess, Papua New Guinea from other contacts later on that no, he was like they ended up taking him into their tribe and he became a part of their group and everything.
Oh, this
Like,
was in Papa
lived
New
his
Guinea
life.
where that happened. Oh, I thought it was in some other parts.
No. And so, there's all these photos like that. That's a photo taken by a different man years later that went back and swears, he's just like, holy crap, he is still alive. But there's like photos and stuff leading up till like the day that he vanishes, of what he was out there doing, because somebody he was with survived when the boat flipped or whatever. And they just like, the story just seems like it's almost one of those things where he definitely kind of maybe he might have faked his own death. Like maybe he didn't want to have nothing to do with the name that he was so blessed with, at birth, because he wasn't like the rest of them. He had a infatuation with the land. When you really study, I went off to the side and studied about him a little bit, and Michael Rockefeller was not.
He rebelled.
Yeah, he was the opposite of anything you'd hear about even his father, who was in politics and stuff like that. Like
his father actually was the Rockefeller that ran for vice president.
Vice, because they have
he was
to
something in New York.
Still,
he was something.
Okay,
he was something in New York State. For a while,
I think that was also when New York was its most corrupt. So people might not know New York City was way worse than it is now, but not by much. I would say we're also very close right now to like top tier corruption. It's just very like rich corruption. You don't see it at the bottom. No. All the way at the top. New York ran U.S. politics in the past. In the early 20th century, It was ran by New York politics. There's a whole documentaries you can watch about that's super interesting. That is about just how New York ran the United States for a while. And it was rich people in New York that ran the entire country. This is in the time of the robber barons, basically in the time where consolidation of power was very, very tightly controlled, just like it is now. 2/3 of the world made $26 trillion in the last 3 years. 2/3 of all the money. Less than 1,000 people made 2/3 of all the money. Just let's put that into context. You can easily control the population so that certain messages don't come across if they're too controversial. So I think this is weirdly one of them, because why isn't there deep research into this? It just makes no sense. There should be deep research into this. It's
and speaking of the Michael Rockefeller expedition, that reminds me, have you guys seen that movie, The Lost City of Z?
Yes.
That's exactly what it reminds me of.
Yeah. And that's a true story, isn't it, that film? Yeah. That's awesome, man.
It's based on if you guys haven't seen it, you need to watch.
Yeah, it's a good film, man.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we are.
There we go.
That's it.
It's an American
Percival Fawcett.
Let's see.
Percival Fawcett. Yep. If you guys haven't seen it,
got hammered by IMDb.
Watch it.
I mean,
yeah.
Okay. I mean, now South America.
It is a painfully slow movie. It is painfully slow.
But it looks like the normal people liked it.
Yeah.
I covered back when I was doing things a lot more on TikTok or whatever, and doing my little history lessons on there, I would cover a lot of South America because there is quite a bit of interesting things in South America, not only from the things that are like currently popular that we've talked about a lot here recently about finding all of these cities down the Amazon River, but South America is truly where they were like searching for El Dorado, and there was an adventurer. His name is fleeting me at the moment, but that like got lost down there. Like they never heard, and he was looking for the lost city of El Dorado and stuff down there as well too, and other things. And there's been so many talks of like golden cities.
Cortez?
Gold was it? No, well, no. This was later. This was later in like the 50s. I'll pull it up here in a second when I put it in my mouth, but there were there's so many different kinds of legends out of South of America, and even like a lot of just weird cryptid things, like on a completely off the rocker thing when it comes to like South American cryptids. My first shaman, I guess if that's what you want to call them, was from down there off the coast near like not quite Brazil, but not quite further down or whatever. They were a small country anyway, but they always told me legends and stories of not only mermaids, but losing their sibling to a mermaid and stuff, because it's something that's pretty commonly believed still down in areas like that. And I've always found that extremely fascinating, and found that area itself extremely fascinating, because a lot of South America is not only a lot bigger than people are mentally portrayed it on like the map and stuff. South America is really, really, really big, but like it's as uncharted, I think, as a lot of Africa is, like the Congo, for example, and other places like that.
I think more so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think South America is more uncharted than Africa is right now. You have, because of the Amazon rainforest, because of the deforestation, just minimally, structures have been coming into view now that have been that are previously unrecorded. Like, we're not just like
cities with millions of inhabitants. Well,
Harry Fawcett
millions.
Harry Fawcett was who I was talking about, who was looking for
millions of people.
That is
we're talking just because normally people when they say structures are coming into view and stuff, they think a few overturned stones, maybe a floor. We're talking cities are being uncovered in the Amazon right now, and that are baffling people. Like, how? I mean, because the Amazon rainforest is triple canopy jungle. You're not. I mean, satellites get nothing. Daylight does not hit the floor. Nothing. Previously unrecorded, and they're seeing these massive structures, and like we said, millions of people.
Those are just samples of all the stuff they're finding. I mean, there's so much. There's so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is fascinating. I mean, look what the.
But that makes things.
This is under trees. It's right there.
Yeah.
All you need to do is get in there, and you can walk over to that.
But see, the thing is, they're not getting in there anytime soon. Still.
Think about
these are the most fascinating ones.
The stories.
That's gigantic.
The stories of the Spanish, coming here before the European settlers, and then
that's a good overview. See all those settlements.
When the Europeans got here, they're like, "Oh, this guy lied. There was nobody here." You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's because
you guys ever heard of Angkor Wat? Angkor Wat in Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
Similar thing. Angkor Wat was very big. It was a metropolis. It was a thriving society. And 1,000 years ago, everything went. I don't know exactly what exactly happened. I don't know the entire story, but around, I think it's over 1,000 years ago, everything went wrong and society crumbled. But it was a thriving, functioning city, and it was a beautiful place. But you can't find the majority of it. Like, you can't find the majority of the remnants. But look, like this is. Imagine things like this in Brazil. I mean, in the Amazon, hidden away. Yeah. Such amazing beauties that we are not seeing. Majesty.
And that all brings into question. What existed before are, what we perceive as the beginning of society or the beginning of civilization or the beginning of when humans became civilized. What existed before that?
Was there a civilization before us?
Oh, I guarantee. And there's too much, like I've said, social media, the internet is one of the sharpest double-edged swords. I mean, they can use it to try and bury.
We were doing that stuff 1,000 years ago.
They can use
In
it
the
to try
middle
and
of the
bury
jungle.
history and change history, but then we can turn around and use it to uncover history and, dig for the truth at the same time,
Yeah.
Sorry, I had it on mute. I was trying to. No, but like I'm the first person to be like, something happens, something resets. This goes back to where we were talking about earlier in the show of like the world resetting itself around and coming back around again from sticks and stones back at the beginning due to some kind of crazy event, whether it be solar flare destroying the AI that had us enslaved, whether it be the mud flood, which is a very popular thing that I'm pretty convinced on because science proves the probability, and there's too many things that show that it seems like buildings were found, not just like built, because these there's in some instances these massive structures that were built by people with horse and buggy, and you're just like, man, I don't know, man, but this goes back into like this cryptid realm and this giant realm and stuff like that. If we all lived at some point in time with all of these other creatures, like it would be nothing for a giant to pick up large stones and stack them in a way that we couldn't find possible. It wouldn't be anything for a shapeshifter to use if they can shapeshift, they can probably move something with their brain or something, you know what I mean? I've seen some really interesting things that prove that you can levitate rocks with sound. So, there's
this is the only question I think some people pose that I don't think is asked enough is creatures that look sound in many ways to be superior to humans in countless manners. Why are they not around and we are?
I mean, that.
Why aren't vampires around if they were so dominant and powerful?
Oh, well, now I still think vampires exist. Like, that's one of those things.
It's not in the way that Hollywood portrays them.
What would you describe vampires if they were to exist?
They're energy vampires.
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, that's a lot of humans. That's a lot of regular humans. Regular humans are energy vampires.
Okay, so and another thing you really got to look at is let's take into account like population density and where we all know overcrowding is an absolute myth. Okay. 8 billion people, that's stretching it.
But you can overcrowd a city. That's possible.
Yeah. There is plenty of room for these things to exist and us not know about them.
We just have the illusion that we know. Because we have a map that shows that we've been there.
I greatly
feel it not.
Right.
Those maps do not show places we have been. That's a big funny thing about Portugal. Portugal lied about all the places they explored, so they could just lay claim to it. And for some stupid reason, the Spanish believed them. So they
imagine my shock. Somebody lying about history.
Also, Paraguay was gigantic.
So I gotta ask, Thomas, since you are out there in the UK, have you ever taken the time to travel to find and go look around at Loch Ness or whatever?
That's something I'd like to do. I haven't done it yet, but it's definitely something I want to do. That's on the list because I'm not that far away. So I think I'm about probably a 9-hour drive from there. I think roughly. So I'm not too far away. But I am actually going to Scotland in June.
Nice.
Well, that's for a stag do. So I don't know if we looking for Loch Ness while I'm there. I might be.
I
be able to
mean,
sneak
there's-
off and
that's also an
I mean,
area, an area
do you
deep
do
in haunting
cryptid
and stuff
hunting?
too. So
Do you do any like paranormal hunting, cryptid hunting?
that's something I would like to start doing. I've not really been doing that. I'm more just talking to people that have had experiences. But that is something I'd like to do. I mean, especially now I know that I've got a possible Dogman right next to me. I might start trying to get
There you
out there.
go.
a bit more. Actually, when the
You're
weird
up
thing
and
is, when
buckle
I
up and
first,
explore.
yeah, when I first moved here, I took my two daughters to the forest. We're just having a walk about, and my oldest daughter, she stopped and she got scared all of a sudden, and I was like, "What's the matter?" And she went, "I've just seen two eyes staring at me," and like she really freaked out. It wasn't really like her, and I was like, "No!" Like she's been listening to me watching Bigfoot documentaries, and she's just freaking herself out. And I just sort of dismissed it, which maybe I shouldn't have done considering what I do. And about a week later, somebody told me about the Dogman law in that forest. So she could have seen something, and I've sort of dismissed it, which is bad of me, really, considering what I believe and do. But so yeah, maybe she did see the Dogman.
oh no,
Well,
I mean,
You also want to be brave in the event of fear, you know. So I would also say to a child, "Yeah, there's nothing there. Come inside."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but at the same time,
Caution.
I
Take
really
caution.
believe that children at a certain point of still having some sort of innocence can see on a different spectrum than
Yes.
we can. And
Yes.
Bandit's gonna get at me for this, but we had some past guests that made him uncomfortable because they kind of were just like, "Yeah, bro, you're not
No,
wrong."
no. It's not that. It's that, and I have a toddler in the house. Yeah, we that they do. I without a doubt, I do believe that they can see and feel and hear things that we can no longer. We could if we attuned our minds to that again, but our minds have been so corrupted by the world that we have lost that ability.
Kids are open to everything, aren't they?
You know, their minds are so pure and they're so attuned that they can see, feel, and hear things that we can't. And I mean, yeah, that's without a doubt.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, my oldest daughter, she's 11 now, but she was 4 at the time that this happened. So my wife was driving her home. They'd been out in the town shopping, and they was coming home, and they've stopped at traffic lights, and there was just a building next to the traffic lights, just a brick wall building. And my little girl's gone, "Mummy, what are those people over there?" And my wife looked and she's like, there's no one there. It's just a building. There's no one there. And she went, "No, Mummy, I can see people with sheets over their faces." This is what she's saying. And my missus is a bit freaked out. She's like, "Okay." They've gone home. She's told her mum about this. They're like, "Let's have a look, see what that building is." So they didn't know. They didn't have a clue. And when they've Googled it and looked where that building was a morgue. So my little girl, I don't know what she's seeing, how she but she saw what was really weird, man.
Yeah, I've had a couple, mediums and seers and stuff like that on the show here. That's one of our higher rated shows with a guest that's going to be coming back real soon was with a medium friend we made because of the show, Miss Vicky, and like she sat in here with us. There was a handful of us in here that night. A couple of other guests or co-hosts that you didn't get the pleasure of meeting this evening. But like by the time that episode was over, we were all just kind of like, whoa, and it's just it's interesting to have these conversations with these folks and to meet people like this, because when they can hit buttons or hit nerves or something that is in your realm of things without even truly knowing you, that at all, you're just like, now hold on a minute. Like
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
like what how are you telling me that I am definitely seeing this relative or whatever sitting here with me and stuff? And it's just like, you know, I've I've had ghost type experiences, that's something I've definitely seen in my life. It's not out of the ordinary for me. I've had the pleasure of doing like some ghost hunt stuff too, and it's it it's definitely exhilarating. And I think having an open mind going into it, you open yourself to the possibility of actually coming across something.
Yeah.
I guess if you were talking to like a chick or something, she'd be calling it manifesting it or whatever. But like, we checked out this school that in the 70s and here in no, it was earlier than that. I'm sorry. It was during some race riots down here in Georgia. There was a elementary school that was firebombed. And in kind of the hood of Atlanta or whatever during these riots, and they put roadblocks, like the big concrete roadblocks, in front of either end of the school and just left it sitting there until like 2008 or so when they finally demolished it. In the early 2000s, I went up there multiple times with friends and like we investigated every corridor of this place. And it literally was just closed down, a chain put on the door, and that was it for the remainder of the time. Sure, some graffiti and stuff had come over the years, but desks were still in place. There were stains in places that were interesting. There was still the daily chalkboard writing and stuff that was faded and stuff like that. But we inspected every corridor of this place, and there was one room towards the front that we walked by every time that had a chain not only through the door but like through the frame of the wall. And I was like, I find that interesting. Let's save that for the end of our exploration and stuff. So we check out these corridors. We all feel different temperatures. We have some funny pictures come up on the Polaroid and stuff like that that are really unexplainable. You know, we are all convinced one night we heard somebody telling us to get out. And the night before we went on the final one, which was to go cut open that door, I had this dream of this little girl that I had seen in a newspaper article that I had found about it. And she kept pulling on my side as we were cutting the chain, telling me not to do it. And when the door opened in my dream, we seen red eyes staring back at us and like heard a rocking chair moving. Well, that night, when we cut the chain, the six of us heard a little girl laugh. And when we opened that door, there was a fucking rocking chair sitting in the middle of that room. And it was enough to make us all Scooby Doo our asses out of there as quickly as we could, because it was just like, holy shit, this is too much. And we talked for a little while after that, and we're all kind of convinced that we totally released something from that room that somebody may have very well magically put in there. That's why that chain was there or whatever, because we all had like interesting things happen moving forward from there that were just like unexplainable, from even cars moving and stuff to other ends of the street. And like we distanced ourselves from that place, and then eventually it got tore down or whatever. But it was just one of the most, just gut wrenching weird things ever. Like you just have this feeling come over your body that you're just like, what's wrong? Something's wrong. And the children laughter thing didn't help either, especially when the closest thing to you is not kids or a school. So like
Yeah.
it was just a wild thing, like a wild experience. And I've had more experiences as far as ghost stuff and stuff like it ever since I was little. And it's definitely something I've always been infatuated with. Like there's Bandit and I think Luis both have made a good point when we've talked about ghosts in the past. I bring up Luis's point a lot because I think it's funny is why, what if they see us too? Like, what if whatever is we're seeing in that realm sees us at the same time? And or the idea that it was something so traumatic at the time, like,
that it scars reality.
that it scars reality and it's there forever.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Yeah.
That's what happens in places that people have lived for extremely long periods of time, like in Europe, that if they've lived there for thousands of years in the same location, same area, you don't see that in areas that haven't had high human populations. You only see it in areas with high density of human populations for extended periods of time over several generations.
it's like when you visit like a castle or something like that, something that's been there for years.
A lot of
You
fucked
get-
up shit happened in
Feel
Kansas.
it, yeah, and you can feel that energy. You can feel
The worst type of things in
We got a
magic.
Civil War. We've got a Civil War battlefield here, about 20 minutes outside of town.
They also say even
where-
Gettysburg is haunted.
One of the bloodiest Civil War battles took place in this area in most of Kentucky. And they say that thing on the regular, you will hear and see things that aren't there. And like you said, something traumatic that scarred reality happened there. So,
I mean, if you think about the fact that we the observers affect reality,
mhm.
what if consciousness can do something deeper that we are still unaware completely in comprehension to what's going on? We think we know a lot of things, right? And then we discover we
We
were
know
flat
nothing.
out
I don't know
fucking wrong
nothing.
about everything we were thinking we were right about.
I'm the first
Yeah,
to admit
we
that I don't know
know,
jack.
like- Yeah.
the more you learn, the more questions you have.
it's
Oh.
it's a
Well, the more
never-ending
you
thing.
learn and the more you know, in reality, you come to the realization that you do, in fact, know almost nothing. You
Yeah.
know,
One of
but that's, that really is true, though. The more you know and the more you learn, you come to that realization that, man, I don't know shit. I don't. In the vastness of things.
You
in the
thought you had a
vastness
full
of things.
bucket. Nope,
Well,
it's
yeah.
completely empty.
But
You
in
just
the
don't know how big
vast-
the bucket is.
It's like in the vastness of things, you just know nothing about anything.
One of
Really,
one,
I mean,
one of my
with the-
favorite aspects of it though is like when you go on this quest for trying to figure things out, and at one point in time you're going to convince yourself through the things you're seeing, you're like, no man, that was crazy. I'm grown up now. Bigfoot was never real. And then you're going to get a little bit further down the line, you're going to come back across some things and you're going to go, fuck, Bigfoot's probably
Maybe,
totally real.
yeah.
And it's just like it's good and healthy to have these questions. And Luis said it earlier, and he says it all the time, that that a lot of things get brushed off because they're cryptids, or they're just they're myths, they're not real. But like,
I mean, it's also much.
were they
So there's two things, right? When it comes to society, what's the easiest path to an answer? Because we have been so accustomed to idea of what's the easiest way to resolve that question. When they use sports to manipulate you, to entice you into believing that the rivalry between Manchester United and whatever the fuck other, like, it's the only one I could say from your country. Sorry. Whatever other football team, it's gaming, whatever. All those are distractions. They're all distractions. This is how much I care. I mean, they're fun to watch. I'm not going to take it away. It's an interesting, fun sport. I'm not going to insult the sport. I'm saying it's at the end of the day, it's a distraction, and the state wants that distraction because it makes it so everyday people focus on things like sports, things that are not existentially going to destroy their lives. People don't want to think about those things. And when you think of cryptids, these are creatures that we don't understand. Can they harm us? How bad can they harm us? Look at The Last of Us. How much attention a video game from early 2010s is now getting.
Mhm.
Adapted to film about the cordyceps.
Yep.
People started getting obsessed over that stuff.
But I mean,
now it's all
that's-
over the internet.
I think Luis, though, when it comes to like your cryptids, though, like your cryptids were government made, weren't they? Like Chupacabra.
Oh,
was-
chupacabras, they think it was the government because in Puerto Rico there
Mhm.
is USDA and other animal experimentations going on in Puerto Rico. If people didn't know, Monsanto fucks around there and other agencies fuck around in Puerto Rico. The research agencies also have establishments in islands where they do additional research, and human beings are banned from entering the island. If there's an island called Isla de Mona, which ironically means island of monkey, or like sounds like island of monkey. I believe there are now monkeys in the island from past research because they take over. There's also big lizards and everything. I've heard of friends that have gone there I mean, you go to the beach and you get the fuck out. Generally, nobody's like, let's go inside. Because you should get sometimes there'll be people there and you should get permits because you could be damaging research. This is the thing. There are areas where they're doing research, and if a human stumbles in, you just fucked up the research. Thanks, you dipshit. So there is a valid reason to keep people out, and it's not nefarious. But still, crazy shit happens over there. So chupacabras. Weird.
My thing is, what about all those mythical things that we believed in as kids, like Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, stuff like that? You know, what if those are cryptids?
I mean, wasn't the Tooth Fairy some kind of like
yes, the tooth
mythological cryptid?
Yeah. So I should take the Tooth Fairy out. You're right. What Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny. I mean, what if those are cryptids?
I mean, Santa Claus could very well be based off of the idea that those little gnome dudes were bringing you mushrooms, and tea and stuff in the snowy areas of what I guess Siberia is what you consider it now, maybe. Like that. There's very, very true plausibility that's
the only part of the story that my brain breaks. It's like, where the hell did elves come from? Like, what was that about?
Well, now garden gnomes used to be especially prominent, I believe, in the UK, a thing for rich people, where they'd have an old wizard-looking dude that lived on their property and tended to their property, and the idea of a garden gnome was basically the same thing as that, just with not a real human being.
Master gave Dobby a sock. Dobby is a free elf. Oh man,
that's supposed to be English, sir. That sounds English.
Master gave Dobby a sock. Dobby's a free elf.
But no, this is
and that going back to mentioning that, I mean, it's like how much of that is based in like reality, like how much? Anything that we take for granted as fairy tales or fantasy. It's just how much is based in reality, because I mean, that awakens it's like as a kid, you were just like, oh, that would be so cool. And then you get into into adulthood and you're like, sometimes you're still like, man, that would be so cool.
Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. I mean, that's kind of back to what I was saying about, at one point in your venture for truth, you might be like, oh, Bigfoot's not real. But then later on, you're going to be like, shit,
man.
Bigfoot's
in the clown
real.
world we're living in right now, I don't blame them for staying hidden. All of the cryptids or any of them. I don't blame them for staying hidden.
It might be their natural senses have attuned themselves to feel humans from a very big distance. Because we are broadcasting brain waves. So what if they can fine tune and feel humans? This is not so crazy.
Well, all right.
It's not so crazy to think about.
So there's this
Science.
orangutan. Well, no, there's this orangutan. All right, that it happens to be. This was a BBC article. I remember when this came out, but the orangutan. It's loading. That this one specifically speaks like a human. His name's Rocky, and he's been mimicking human speech and stuff. Now, you get into some of these areas into Africa and stuff like that, and even in other places of the world, because there's multiple species of orangutan out there. But there's places of this world that I've heard these stories where the people are like, oh yeah, the orangutan can totally talk. They just choose not to because they don't want to be entrapped into this this human life.
What was there with the gorilla? Do you remember the message from the gorilla before he died, when he was dying?
Harambe? He was trying to get information about Hillary Clinton's emails out, and then they shot him.
No.
Oh boy, man.
But rest in peace, Harambe.
Yeah, I mean, but it's his. I mean,
that was so stupid.
Situation,
they didn't have to kill the baby.
That whole situation led to where we're at right now.
It did. It did.
Harambe
Yeah.
was the break of the
It
Matrix.
was it was the catalyst.
That was the cat. Yeah, that was the
Why did that
catalyst.
kid need to jump in the? The kid didn't need to jump. It was all Harambe. it's all in Harambe's mind at the end of the day. No, but if you, what was that gorilla that used sign language? And there's even videos of it meeting different people. There's even it meeting Robin Williams and it even remembering Robin Williams.
Oh,
This is beautiful.
I remember them doing that in the movie Congo, where they had the glove on the movie The Congo. You remember that movie? Coco.
The female Western lowland gorilla that she knew sign language, that there was all kind. Yeah, the Robin Williams one. I actually found it immediately.
Play that if you want to play something really interesting.
I'm gonna just play it in the background while we're talking.
Yeah.
They had something like that in that movie Congo from the 90s, that the gorilla could use sign language, but then they had a glove on it that would read its sign language and then speak the words that it was signing.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, this begs to question, if these other cryptid apes, whether it be Bigfoot or giant of some kind or whatever, or even gorillas or orangutans and stuff like that, is there some kind of connection that we have been disconnected to becoming a part of society and getting ourselves further away from nature and such?
He tickled a gorilla just now. I don't know if he's
right, dude.
That.
Yeah,
tickling a grown animal that can rip your head off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a connection. That's a connection into the true humanity. That's a true human. That was a great human.
Oh yeah, Robin Williams was.
Yeah.
To me, you're human.
I think.
What is a good human to aliens? Robin Williams. Just point at Robin Williams. It's like, what was a good one? That one.
Yeah. He's a legend.
Oh yeah, There's great things when it come to like his work and stuff like that. And they even showed Mr. Rogers in that video and stuff. He worked a lot.
Another guy that everybody loved.
And it's people that had that good positive message. I think that maybe they could connect with Koko, or maybe even other things like that. Or people over where the orangutans are that live amongst them, or whatever. People that have gone out there and lived amongst gorillas and had gorillas accept them. That's an actual true thing that has happened. And I think maybe the further we get from nature, the less we have the ability to maybe connect with a lot of these folks. But the closer we get back to it, maybe there's a whole world out there waiting for us. Maybe we can totally talk to animals like Tarzan could in the Disney animated classic. Like
I am sure to a degree we could probably communicate with a few to the same way we do now. You could say, because you're adapted to just living with them.
But I mean, sure, I can pick up on certain cues
to birds
and stuff like that. Absolutely.
Think of it. We talk to birds.
We talk to apes.
We talk to apes.
We talk to dolphins.
If birds were real, we would talk to them.
That's right.
By the way, rats are great pets. Like, we talk to rodents. Now, can we respond? Yeah,
wait,
I think we can also understand.
You said rats are good pets.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know?
Except subway rats. Except subway rats.
No. Subway rats.
Listen, I have seen
in their home are not exactly the same species.
I have seen New York rats, bro, and no,
that could be a house dog. You want a dog or you want a subway rat?
And like, is that a cat or a rat?
Yes, they get that big.
Oh, they do, man.
Rats in New York get gigantic. We're
talking about the four-legged rats, not the two-legged rats. Man.
Oh no, those. I mean,
kangaroos.
When will the curse of Adams go away? Go away, Adams. Go away, curse of Adams. Shoo.
Well, but before we get here close to getting ready to wrap up, because I know we're getting close to that time, I like to go around and make sure there's nothing else we didn't get to cover or anything. Is there any other good stories you want to throw out there for the world to hear before we get out of here tonight, Thomas?
Is there anything else you like? I mean, I've seen ghosts and stuff, or is that just going to start a new?
I mean, we've talked about
I've
some
seen-
ghost stuff this evening.
We've got a return. We've got a returning guest.
Yeah, but that's the way I look at it. Is you can definitely come back and
I'm happy to come back anytime you guys want me.
oh
well,
man, yes.
And you guys are all welcome on Let's Get Freaky podcast as well.
We'll have to set it up, man. We'll have to come over there and set
How
it up.
freaky do we get?
It gets freaky.
Yeah, that's what's up. No,
As freaky as you want to get.
well, I mean, I guess. Well, speaking of that, would you like to get? I always like to give you an opportunity to give your plugs and stuff for everything, where everybody can come and find you and check your stuff out.
Awesome.
And,
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, so we're on pretty much every podcast platform. We put a show out every week. Might start putting 2 out a week. Recently joined YouTube. Not got a lot on there yet, but there will be more on there soon. Yeah, come say hi. We talk all ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, anything paranormal, supernatural. We talk about it. Yeah, so come over, guys. Come say hi.
yeah, you guys know that as normal, I'll have all those links so that you can get back and find him, and as well as find everything we've talked about tonight that I've pulled up on the screen. And maybe I can convince Luis to drop some of those sweet pictures he made tonight in his section of the website that we got going on for him over there. And you guys can check back on them too, because Luis does a lot of cool stuff when it comes to like that artwork and stuff. He's introduced it to a lot of our friends here on the show.
I'm gonna do some crazy stuff soon. That's
and like cool. it's we've watched that one specific AI art generator when Luis first started coming over here playing around with it to where it is now. It is just like whoa, like it has just advanced, and it's just a
reality as we understand it will cease to exist, which is
interesting.
Something that kids will not understand completely. How we didn't question. We're talking about the uncanny valley. How we didn't question what was in front of us on the screen, if it was a real human, or are we all a fabrication out of artificial intelligence right now? Hi.
Bandit, you got any closing things for me this evening?
Nothing, man. It's been a good show. It's always good to have. It's always good to have a show where I actually I have some knowledge to share.
We need to explore.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, you guys, like I said a few minutes ago, I'll make sure that I got all the links that you guys can get back to Thomas and check his show out, and I'll have his Instagram linked up there so that you guys can go over there and follow him on Instagram and keep up with everything he's got going on. And before we get out of here, I've been continuing to give away our stickers, and hey, they're starting to run out, but we still got a little bit of a stack of them going on. So if you guys want to get yourself a sweet Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast sticker, all you've got to do is answer tonight's pirate riddle. So hope you guys are ready. Now that you're getting close to land, you need your pirate ship to stop. So you take down all your sails, and this object in the water you will drop. Go on over there to unconstitutionalawakening.com and find this episode to answer that question and score yourself a sweet Unconstitutional Awakening sticker. You guys can also check out everything else that we got going on over there, and we look forward to it. So we're going to weigh anchor and head on out of here. Good night, everyone.